Okay, our final presenter will be Ben Zimmerman. Ben represents the Southern Ute tribe. He's the fisheries biologist, works for the Division of Wildlife Resources Management. Ben, if you would like to add on, you're welcome to, but take it away and thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Oh, hold on. So thanks to the previous presenters, Dan and Garrett, great presentations, great work going on reservations here. So today I'm just gonna give some preliminary results of a grant that we received from the BIA Endangered Species Program. The grant was entitled Native Fish Entrainment and Tributary Habitat Use Study on the Southern Ute Reservation. So just quick presentation overview, what I'm going to be talking about today, give you just a little bit of background and the setting for the project, the purpose of the study, goals and objectives, talk about two different tools that we used for the study using pit tag antennas and using telemetry radio tags and some of our other findings during the study, and then our next steps. So those of you not familiar with the Southern Ute Reservation, we're located in southwest Colorado. This bigger picture here shows the exterior boundary of the Southern Ute Reservation. It's about 75 miles long, 25 miles wide. And in the oval there, that's the focus of the study. And it's on the Animas River, Trumbull Creek, and the Florida River. So a little bit of background of the fish that we were working with this study. We have 5 native fish: the flannelmouth sucker, the bluehead sucker, round-tailed chubs, mottled sculpin, and speckled dace. And this funding we got from BIA focuses on those top 3 there: flannelmouth, bluehead, and the round-tails. So the purpose of the study is to look at irrigation diversions, loss of fish out of the Animas River, and different groups. There's some recovery work going on to recover razorback suckers in Colorado Pike Meadow and the San Juan. That group was interested in all these diversions, and this is a image out of that report that they did associated with that program, the San Juan Recovery Group. So our work up here, so all these little dots with the A, just right here is the reservation boundary, right here's the Colorado state line, New Mexico, the land of enchantment down this way. And we have, so I focused on 3 irrigation ditches here on the reservation and 2 tributaries to the Animas. So in all, they inventoried 24 diversions as Animas progresses down to the San Juan River here. So there was lots of opportunities for fish to be entrained or being lost. So again, just give you a couple examples here of what the irrigation ditches look like on the Animas. So here's the Animas. It flows like this, and this is the Animas Citizens Ditch, irrigation ditch, and they built this berm to push the water from the river over into the irrigation ditch, come a long trailing type of ditch here. Here is another example. This is a Twin Rocks ditch that I have a pit tag antenna in. And this one, they got this, the water diversion that crosses all the way across the river here. For rafters and boaters, they did leave kind of a channel here that you could get through over here, but especially during low water, which we're starting to experience now, more of the water is going down these irrigation ditches. So this is just a picture of the actual head gates here. And there's like, well, you can see here, there's a 24-inch diameter pipe here that's controlled by this head gate. And this is how they have it screened. Obviously not for fish. This is a trash rack to keep larger wood and logs out of the system. They have the irrigators come depending on the water flows, they'll clean this rack off so they have better water flow to their irrigation ditch. So just real quickly, the goals of our study here. First of all, to monitor entrainment of native fish into irrigation ditches in the Animas River. Secondly, to monitor tributary habitat use of native fish connected to the Animas River. And our third goal was to create awareness of native fish habitat with tribal youth. And thus the theme of our conference here, laying the path for the next generation. Objectives were to deploy 5 remote pit tag antennas and use telemetry to evaluate entrainment and tributary habitat use. Also to involve youth on actual hands-on native fish management activities, and then work cooperatively and present our findings to all the various agencies and our neighbors, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, Fish and Wildlife Service, New Mexico Game and Fish, Hickory Apache Nation 3-Species Working Group, San Juan River Basin Recovery Implementation Program. So our first tool that we used in the study was the use of pit tag antennas. And the process, first of all, we went out with our electrofishing raft and captured as many blueheads and flannelmouths as we could. And we pit tagged them. And those of you not familiar with a pit tag, it's a small device, a tag that's about a little bigger than a grain of rice. You could get them bigger for your different applications, but these things are pretty small. So far, we tagged about 250 blueheads, about 120 flannelmouths, and 70 roundtails. And actually, the roundtail chubs we got from Colorado Parks and Wildlife to Alamosa Hatchery. So average size for the blueheads was about 230 millimeters, 280 for the flannelmouths, and the average size for the roundtails was relatively small, 130 millimeters. So here's a picture of our remote portable antennas. They're 3 foot in diameter, and they have, this is the battery here, and this is the data logger unit here. And I have 2 different types of batteries, different sizes. The 72 amp hour battery will last me 2 weeks, and the 180 amp hour battery will last almost a month. And this one, I weighed one this morning. Yeah, these 180 amp hour, they're like 65 pounds. They're hard to lug around. So if I have a location that's pretty close to the truck, I'll put in these bigger batteries. But other ones, a lot of the other antennas that I have stationed, or I have to carry them quite a ways. So I usually use these 72 amp hour batteries. So just to give you a sense of the stuff is expensive. So with 5 antennas and a dozen batteries, we spent with grant funding about $50,000 for this equipment. So this is show you where we located these antennas. So here's the reservation boundary, the northern part of the reservation. Here's the Colorado State, New Mexico state line here. So we put one in the Animas System ditch, one into Trumbull Creek, one in the Florida River, one in the Twin Rocks ditch, and one in the Ralston ditch. So all 5 are out working for me 24/7, collecting data. So I just want to give you kind of a sample of what the data looks like when I download these antennas. So I go out every couple weeks, depending on what battery I have in the unit. I go out and download. I take my laptop out in the field, and luckily I haven't dropped it in the river yet, but it's connected via Bluetooth. So I could connect, there's a program that I have on my laptop. I connect to Bluetooth and it downloads the information. And this is just a sample data. Then I export it into Excel. So I highlighted it in yellow here. This is from data from the Florida River. So in this one, actually I had 3 different fish, 3 different fish And those pit tags give me a 15-digit unique tag number, so I know which actually fish it is. And all this other data down here, these antennas, every hour it does a self-test, and this is good information for me to see. I could tell that I know that it's working. So this is a military time, so it took a reading on the test tag within the system at 1,400 hours, 1,500 hours, 1,600 hours. But the actual fish, it's scan time. So this top one here, it scanned it at 7:11 in the morning, and it gives me the date when it was scanned. So this is type of, just want to give you a sample of kind of the information I'm getting here. So also we have these, as I mentioned, we have these antennas deployed in 2 tributaries to the Animas. One is the Florida River, and here's the Animas here. It flows down like this. Here's the Florida River. And I have this antenna deployed right about here. So each time I have to change out the battery. Lately the water's been getting low, so I could just walk across the river on my waders. I usually pull a little boat so I could carry the battery in my laptop, and I walk it way up here and I change out the battery. So far, I just want to mention, so all the fish for this study, the fish that I'm going to talk about with our radio tags and our pit tag work, we collected right in here, this area, the mouth of the Florida River. And so far we've detected about 10 fish that were I picked up on the antenna here. Just so you know, so yeah, we captured all these fish here. We took them, put them in our stocking tank, drove them up river about 8 miles, and we have fish coming back down already and going back up the river here to the pit tag antenna is. All right, so Trimble Creek is the other location that we're doing our tributary habitat use study with these antennas. And here's a picture of Trimble Creek. It's a pretty small creek, maybe 6 feet wide. In places it could get up to 3 or 4 feet in depth. It flows into the Animas River here. So just want to point out, this is where we stocked our round-tailed chubs. We got 70 of them that I stocked, pit tagged, and interesting findings far. Actually, I detected over half of them, 38 were detected on the antenna so far. We did some backpack shocking in this area a couple months ago, and we did recapture one. So I could get growth data. So during that fish, over a 9-month period, it grew over 10 millimeters. So just some of the preliminary results we got from our pit tag antenna deployment. I did find so far, and keep in mind, we still got another 2 months of data collection to go here. But one fish wasn't trained in the Animas ditch. It was a flannelmouth sucker, about 265 millimeters. And what I mentioned about the Florida River, we have a lot of fish that we stocked 8 miles upriver. They're returning back to the Florida River, so getting a lot of hits with detections from the fish in the Florida River. And just so you know, there's a water temperature difference. The Florida River is about 67 degrees Fahrenheit versus the Animas River, which is 59 degrees Fahrenheit. So another kind of a side result from this, I was, before I deployed these pit tag antennas in irrigation ditches, I contacted the irrigation users just to get permission and to be on good terms with them. And it was an opportunity for me to educate them about fisheries and what we're doing and the potential results from this. You know, I told them if we deemed, you know, irrigation ditch, we have a lot of fish that were being lost or entrained to their ditch. In the future, we might help them refurbish their head gate and create, you know, fish screening or whatever, a fish barrier to help them out. So I was was kind of nervous to talk with them. I thought they would just, balk at this idea of me putting anything in their irrigation ditch. But all of them are really helpful, really happy to me. Said some good comments. So it was kind of I created some good relationships with them. So that was kind of a good thing. All right, kind of a quick side story here. So a couple weeks ago, we had a flash flood event in the Florida River. And just want to mention that we have another BIA grant, invasive species grant, that removes salt cedar and tamarisk. And I'm glad actually that I didn't cut down the salt cedar yet, because this one saved the day. So we had this big flood event. I had my pit tag antenna right below this big rock here with rocks on top of it. This big flood event came, and the Florida River typically runs about, less than 100 CFS, but this flood event, our best guesstimate, it was up over 1,000. But I took that antenna and pushed it down about 30 feet. Good thing I had a good strong rope here, and pushed it up on shore. So if I would have lost that, that would have been about $8,000 to $10,000 loss of equipment. So I was kind of nervous when I was headed back this way, but luckily everything worked out okay. So switching gears here, the other tool for this study that we're using telemetry, or using radio tags. So we implanted 25 suckers, blueheads, and flannelmouths with radio tags. So surgically implanted in the body cavity, these tags here. And we put, this is the transmitter here, and made an incision in the bottom of the fish, inserted in that tag. That antenna here trails out to the back of the fish, so a trailing tag. And we had a summer helper a couple years ago. This is Jonas Nanato. He was a senior at Ignacio High School, and he got to help us some hands-on stuff. So here I put him on the anesthesia part. We were using MS-222 in that bucket. We put a fish in there. It took a couple minutes. And here's me doing, so we got 2 fish being worked on here. I'm working on one, implanting one, and our wildlife technician here, Daniel Austin, implanting another. So like I said, we implanted 25 fish. Here's the radio tag numbers, frequency 551 or 151 series, and we also pit tagged these fish. So just by what we could catch, we radio tag and pit tagged 4 bluehead suckers, average size about 305 millimeters, 21 flannelmouth suckers, average size about 270 millimeters. So what we did, we stalked these ones that are highlighted in gray, 12 fish at Basin Creek, up almost to the top of the reservation, River Mile 52, and then 13 of them off of Weasel Skin Bridge. And these 2 locations are usually locations that we stalk our trout that we get. So these were kind of ideal spots to put these and evaluate their movement. So our methods of monitoring for telemetry, we use every couple weeks, we hire the airplane, and you can see here's the telemetry antenna mounted. There's one on each side, on each wing. We also do this by rafting. And once again, here's Jonas Nonato again, our summer intern. And then also by, a lot of times the river is close to the highway, so I could drive down and locate fish with my truck here. I have 2 antennas. I have one that's a magnet on top of my truck here, or I'll just stop at locations and get finding as many fish as I can. So it's interesting that all these methods, I could pick up fish, certain fish with driving with my truck where the airplane can't, and vice versa with the the raft. So it's good that we're using all three of these methods here. So our preliminary results so far, we got another couple months of data to collect, but so far we found 23 of the 25 radio tag fish. 2 of these fish have moved downstream, passing 15 irrigation ditches, 40 miles. 19 of the fish averaged movement of about 6.5 miles downstream. 16 fish passed 6 diversions moving downstream. And we have 2 fish that decided to go upstream. They moved the average about 3.3 miles. So just kind of a quick, interesting story of one fish here, 151-200, a flannelmouth sucker, 203 millimeters. So from its initial stalking point, it moved down 11.5 miles from its stalking point, and then it went a 1/4 mile up the Florida River, where I recorded it on our pit tag antenna. Then it went back to the Animas, and it went down the Animas 31 miles, passing 15 irrigation diversions. And then for the last month, it's just been hanging out in this deep pool down in New Mexico. So kind of an interesting movement of this fish here. All right, so some other findings through our study. So unfortunately, we caught a smallmouth bass during our collection for our pit tag fish. This was caught, it was about 165 millimeters. The last smallmouth bass, and if you don't know, these fish we don't want in our fishery at all. They're very invasive, very impactful to our native fish. So prior to that, the last smallmouth bass we caught was a bigger one. It was about 328 millimeters, 16 years ago in 2005. So we hope to, continue our sampling efforts. Hopefully we won't find any more. I can't really explain why this one showed up, but hopefully there won't be more in the future. So another a finding or work that we do from the study, and a standard protocol for us to remove white suckers when we catch them in our electrofishing work. But we removed almost 38 pounds of white suckers. That doesn't seem like a lot. But yeah, these efforts were pretty small that we did. So we did the same effort, the small effort, right at the mouth of the Florida Animas confluence. So we did it 5 different times. And the first time we removed about 20 pounds of white suckers. Then the next time, almost 6 pounds, and then 5 pounds the next couple. And then the last time we sampled only 2 pounds. So kind of a feel good for me to know that we're removing some site work, removing these white suckers, and we did put a dent in the population temporarily, removing 38 pounds. So our next steps for this study, like I said, we got another more than 2 months of data collection. We're going to continue to capture and pictate native fish. As the Animas River is dropping, so now we're down to like 300 CFS this week. More water is going to be entrained into these irrigation ditches, so more opportunity for lost fish. So the more fish we have out there pit tagged, the better evaluation that we have with the study. So by September 1st, I need to get to Chris our annual progress report. And then once we get all our data in, I need to submit a final report to the BIA in January. I'll have an update with all our data to the 3 species working group in November, and that's usually when they have our meeting updates. And finally, hopefully, COVID was a disaster in our ability to work with youth, native fish, hands-on stuff. We were shut down. We couldn't do anything. So hopefully the schools plan on opening here. So hopefully we'll be online to work with the youth again. So this is my last slide here. So going with that that last statement here. So laying the path for the next generation. This was kind of a dated picture here, but this was when we could. This was about 10 years old, but I just wanted to point out that we work with our tribal youth, different classrooms. We did have an aquarium. This picture here, these kids, they raised round-tailed chubs in the classroom for the school year. And then at the end of the school year, they went out to Scotts Pond, close to the school here, and they released these round-tailed chubs into Scotts Pond. But just point out this young man here in the striped shirt, his name's Lakota Collins. He's now in college. I talked to his mom this morning, and he did actually send us an email a while back, and he is gung-ho, wants to pursue a degree in natural resources, wildlife management. So I'm hoping that we planted a seed and he'll pursue, but he also said he was going to go on to get his master's degree and PhD. So hopefully he's on that track. So I just want to back up here to talk about Jonas real quick. So Jonas Naneto, he had a really interest in biology. We were able throughout the summer to give him some good taste of some biology things that we do. He was honor student in National High School. He was a teacher's aide for the biology teacher there, and he was in college last year. And I think, you know, any freshman last year had a challenging college year. It was challenging for them for many reasons. They didn't really get the real college experience, but he decided to take a break in college. Actually, he's joining the Navy next month. I talked to his mom last week. So hopefully gets out of the Navy and he'll come back to biology or wildlife management. All right, Chris, that's all I had.
Okay, well, I appreciate it, Ben. At this time, do we have any questions for Ben?
I don't really have a question, just a comment. Jonas is actually my nephew, and I was just yelling at Sheila just now, telling her I didn't know he interned for Ben. That's all.
Okay. Let's see. I don't see any questions. Ben, I do have a question. With that, and correct me with the. I mean, I can't remember that. That spill that happened a couple of years ago from that mine tailing in Colorado. But I was just wondering, how has the native fish community responded after that incident?
So Chris is talking about the gold mines spill. Yes, that was whenever we had our conference in Reno. I forget what year that was, but that's the year it happened. So actually, the Gold King mine didn't really have an impact on our fishery at all. I think the following year, I think it was 416 fire, that had a tremendous impact on our fishery. So that river just, turned orange from that mine spill, came down river, and it was just a process. The chemistry was perfect for us, where that iron didn't alter the pH. If that pH was altered, it would make that iron component toxic, is what I understand. I'm not a chemistry guru, but the fish did okay from that. But the subsequent year, 416 fire, we had a big slew of effluent come down, and that really did a number on our native fish, actually all of our fish. So that's the update I could give you with that.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, there's no more questions, Ben. I'd like to thank you for your presentation and for your work and what you're doing with Southern Ute. So thanks again. This pretty much concludes the fisheries concurrent session, unless any of you have any questions. I'd like to thank all of you for your participation. I'd like to thank all the speakers, Dan, Garrett, Ben, very informative. Really good presentations. Thank you. And thank you for your time and participation. And again, thank you to everybody who attended. Continue to be safe out there. And it's nice to see faces, hear voices, and maybe sometime down the road, we will all be in person again. Kim, do you have anything to add?